The Box by KB Hurst. The holidays were upon us. It was a typical autumn day, a regular Tuesday. "Henry," I said to myself, "you will be productive while you work from your home office." Pouring a cup of the wicked hot stuff that kept me awake during numerous Zoom meetings, I heard the Amazon truck. It beeped, backing into my old neighbor Pete's driveway. I didn't think much of it. I never saw Pete except for the day I moved in, and once when there was a power outage. He had come out to see what the fuss was. He didn't speak. He merely waved at me and went back inside. By all accounts, he was simply a pleasant man in his 50s. Nothing exceptional. I mean, I had seen him come get his mail, but every once in a while. But I never saw him leave or go inside. I had come to the conclusion he must have worked nights. I would sometimes hear the car alarm beep and the loud door shut loudly, roughly around 5 a.m. each morning. I couldn't help but wonder what a man that had little to no interaction in his daily life would have delivered. I peeked out my window. I felt a bit nosy. It was a medium box standing about 2 feet high. Maybe it was a lamp. Perhaps it was a new grill. Or maybe it was a sex doll. I chuckled to myself and went back to work, minding my own business. The following day, I woke and made my coffee. My office window overlooked Pete's porch. I looked and noticed the box was still there. Odd, I thought to myself. Pete should have retrieved it by now. I soon forgot about it. I did wonder why he had not recovered the box, or at least taken it inside. I got a call from my boss that our Zoom meeting would be canceled until the following Monday. I was glad. I wouldn't say I liked meetings. Most of all, I hated sitting in my business attire when I could sit in my robe and take my time about things. Soon, it was the end of the day, and I could shut off my laptop and get some rest. I had spent 12 hours going over reports, and this guy was tired. Groundhog Day seemed to come early for me, as every morning was the same Monday through Friday. I woke, made coffee, started up the old laptop, and began my work. By now, it was already Monday morning again. I had a decent weekend. I drank beer and watched some television. I scrolled through a dating app. Nothing new. My alarm seemed to go off almost annoyingly. I heard rain. It began to get loud. It was hard for me to hear my boss as he had us all log into the Zoom call. "Hey, Henry, can you turn that radio down?" "Sorry, sir. It's pouring here in Cleveland." "Oh, well, mute the computer until we need you." I did as told. Very good. Yes, man. I was. The meeting was boring, so I found myself drifting off, started staring out the window, watching the rain. It seemed to be slowing down. Then I noticed it. The box was still there on Pete's porch. How could that be? I wondered why a man such as Pete would leave the package there. Was it not an important package? I would think if a box that size was on the porch, you must want it. Maybe Pete didn't notice it. How could he not? "Henry, did you get January's proposal?" I snapped back to reality and forgot Pete's box. Yes." I fumbled with the sheets of paper in front of me. Later that night, I had just sat down to dinner when I heard a loud noise coming from outside. I stood up and peeked outside. I saw Pete's trash can rolling down the driveway. Unlocking my kitchen door and walked next door. I picked up the trash can and put it back in place. I walked back to my house and went to bed. It was now December, and lights were up in the neighborhood. I had met a woman that I had been dating for a while now. Jeannie was her name. She had come over on this particular Friday to watch a few rom-coms, and I had dinner in the oven. Jeannie and I sat on the couch, and she noticed that the snow had begun to fall. "Oh, Henry, look, it's so pretty, isn't it?" I stood up, and then we both went to see it in all of its winter best. It looked like a Norman Rockwell card. "We should build a snowman," she joked. "Maybe," I said, glancing around the neighborhood. It was like a winter wonderland. Every house on my street seemed to compete with each other as to who would have the best decorations. I had only a few strands of multicolored lights and a little mechanical reindeer in my front yard. It was a suggestion that Jeannie came up with earlier. As I looked around, my eyes focused on Pete's house. "The box is still there?" I said out loud. "What's that?" Jeannie mused. "Oh, that box on my neighbor's porch. It's been there for a few weeks now. I just find it kind of odd." "Whew, it's freezing. Let's go get some more hot cocoa," Jeannie said, opening the front door and running inside. I stood there for a second, looking at Pete's house. I wondered what was inside the box. Moreover, I wondered why Pete would just let the box sit there. It appeared to be worn by the weather now. Jeannie and I spent the night together. I woke in the middle of the night, unable to get the box out of my head. Tomorrow, I would knock on Pete's door. Jeannie left at noon. We ended up sleeping in and making a grand breakfast. I had almost forgotten the box until I walked Jeannie to her car. As she pulled out of my driveway, I waved to her, then glanced over towards Pete's house. I slowly walked over to Pete's front porch, eyeing the box. I could see where it was now crumbling in the weather. On the bottom of the box was something brown and wet. It seemed to be seeping from the inside of the box. I was afraid to move it as it may cause the box to crumble. I took a deep breath and knocked on Pete's door. I stood there for a moment. No one came to the door. Finally, I knocked again. This time it was louder. Still, no Pete. I backed away from the door, and in doing so, I accidentally nudged the box, causing the top of it to open slightly. Looking down, I noticed that the top was almost entirely open. I looked at it, trying to compel myself from opening the box. The urge overwhelmed me. I had to see what was inside the box. I looked inside the box. When I tell you, I nearly fainted from the smell, that was an understatement. The horrors inside that box were so great I was sickened to the point I knew I'd never be the same again. I looked at the mess inside that box. There was what looked like a body crumbled up, smashed together like a car at a junkyard. It was utterly separated and smashed together in inhuman ways. I backed away from the porch. My first instinct was to vomit. Ugh. I now knew that the body inside of it was most certainly my neighbor Pete. Inside the balled-up pieces of human legs and arms was a name tag with Pete on it. I sauntered towards my house, trying to get the images out of my head. Tears fell from my eyes as I moved towards my front door. I went inside and sat on my couch, simply staring into space. I tried to think of what to do. I had to call the cops, that was for sure. I picked up my phone, but as I did, there was a knock at my door. I stood up, wondering who on earth it could be. "Henry!" It was almost certainly a man's voice. That man was none other than Pete himself. Hey, I can't thank you enough. I stood shell-shocked, and blinking uncontrollably. The man in front of me was Pete. He was covered in blood, some gel-like substance, and his clothes were indeed the ones from that same box. I don't understand. I literally just saw you. You'll forget it by morning. Get a good night's rest. I'll tell you, what would I do without concerned neighbors such as yourself? Pete patted me on the shoulder with his large hand. I still don't understand how it's possible. I'm afraid to go to sleep. What if I forget and something terrible is going to happen to me now? How will I know I need to protect myself? What if I hadn't gone to look inside that box? What if I had just minded my own goddamn business?